In this video, I will talk about the basics of solfège in major scale and a diatonic version. Solfège is actually a mnemonic device used to teach pitch recognition. This is very important. And each note in a scale, in this case a major scale, is labeled with a unique solfège syllable. So for example, if you're in the key of C major, right, C will be the first scale degree. And then we assign it with a Do. And the second scale degree, D, would be Re. The third scale degree, E, would be Mi. And the fourth scale degree, Fa. Fifth scale degree, So. Sixth, La. Seventh, Ti. And back to Do. We can be flexible with the solfège syllables as well. If we're in a different key, let's say E flat major, right? E flat would be Do. Mi would be G. So would be B flat. T would be D natural, and back to Do E flat. And this is the importance of the unique solfège syllables, is that they show us the relationships between notes. For example, if you are given a reference pitch Do, Do, and you are given another pitch to figure out what pitch that is. Da. So if you are familiar with the solfège system, so you can trace it back using the scale. You can sing from Do, that is the reference pitch, Do, Re, Mi. That is the note that you just heard that you needed to figure out. And it turns out that it's the Mi. So that's the importance of the relationships between notes. And through that very concept that I just showed you, students learn to recognize pitch and improve their overall musicianship. This is very important. If you play a string instrument, if you play a brass instrument, you need to know the next pitch that you want to play. So you need to know the exact same pitch so that you can play the pitch in tune. That is very important. Even though if you play like a flute, right, with the exact fingerings for the individual notes, you still need to know the relationship in between the pitches to play those notes in tune. Because not every note is in tune on the flute. You have to make some adjustment, or even with some alternative fingerings to make the intonations sound proper. Even if you play the piano, which you don't really have to worry about intonation, but it's good to know the relationships in between the notes. It's good to know the solfège syllables on the notes that you are playing so that you can appreciate the music that you play in a deeper level. Right, you are given a scale right here in the key of C major, and then above the notes are the scale degrees, and below the notes are the solfège syllables. The first scale degree Do, second scale degree Re, third scale degree Mi, and so forth. And the first step would be to familiarize yourself with the sound and the distance in between the adjacent notes by singing the scale in ascending and descending fashions. So this step is to ingrain the concepts, the relationships in between the notes in your brain, in your mind, so that when you hear this pattern of notes, you know that this is a major scale, and you know that according to the distance in between the adjacent notes, to be able to tell, to be able to figure out that this is a major scale. So this is what we will do. Do, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Do, Ti, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. I'm going to give you two small tips. The most important relationship in the scale would be from Ti to Do. Really experience, really feel the Ti, Do, the tendency of the Ti to resolve to Do. The other one would be the Fa. Fa tends to resolve to Mi. Fa, Mi, Fa, Mi. Can really feel that relationship. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Do, Ti, La, Sol, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. And also feel free to to switch in between your chat voice and head voice. I think it's fun to do that. That expands your voice range, at least for me. Next, you can do some intervals from the easiest ones to the hardest ones, where the easier intervals will be the intervals that are stepwise motions, meaning the seconds. So this is what you can do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Right, that's pretty manageable because everything is stepwise. We'll do some harder intervals, meaning the small lip intervals that contains thirds or fourth. And I will also include seconds in this practice. Do, mi, so, fa, sol, la, fa, do, re, so, mi, la, so, do, ti, do. Right? It raises the level of difficulty by just a little bit. Right? The challenging ones are the larger lips, which contain a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, or even the compound intervals. Right? I'll combine all of this together, all of these intervals. Do, re, fa, mi, do, ti, re, la, so, do, re, ti, do. For example, a special mention would be the tritone in the major scale. It's in between these two notes, is the fa and ti. Fa, ti is a tritone. If it's going up, it's an augmented fourth. If it's going down, there's a ti right here. Right here. Fa, ti, do. Fa, ti is a diminished fifth. Fa, ti is an augmented fourth. But they are both tritones. Tritones are very hard to sing. Fa, ti, fa. Fa, mi, fa, ti. Alright, I'm going to combine all of these intervals in the next exercise. Do, mi, so, fa, ti, do, ti. Fa, mi, do, re, ti. Do, ti, do. Next up, you can practice chords or chord progressions. You can give yourself any chord, any Roman numerals, and then you can sing the chord members. So for example, 1, do, mi, so, mi, do. Or 5. Do, re, mi, fa, so, ti, re, ti, so. Back to 1. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Okay, what about some Plego progression? Do, mi, so, mi, do. Fa, la, do, la, fa. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Okay? Make the progression longer. 1, 4, 5, 1. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Fa, la, do, la, fa. So, ti, re, ti, so. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Right? I'm going to have a deceptive cadence. And then I'm going to switch the 4 chord out with the 2 chord and then to 6. There's a deceptive cadence right here. 1 chord would be do, mi, so, mi, do, re, fa, la, fa, re, so, ti, re, ti, so, la, do, mi, do, la. Right, there's some imaginary notes right here. And one advice for you would be when you are very familiar with the scale, and when you are ingraining these concepts into your mind, it would be nice to think that in your brain there's a virtual piano keyboard. So when you sing, you are actually playing the piano keyboard in your mind to figure out the notes. So you won't confuse with the pitches while given the solfege syllables that we were just practicing on. Now you are given an excerpt to practice, right, to apply your solfege scales on. So first of all, this is what we just did. If you can ingrain the solfege syllables in your mind, that would be awesome. If you can ingrain the sound of a major scale in your mind, that would be awesome. If you can ingrain the distance, the intervals in between the adjacent notes in the major scale, they will be great. Second, if you want, you can write down the syllabus. Well, we can assume that this excerpt is in the key of C major, because if you look at the key signature, there are no accidentals, and then it starts and ends on C. So C would be Do, you can do that, and D would be Re, E would be Mi, and so forth. But eventually you can just skip this step if you are familiar with the solfege system. And then you want to trace the next notes with solfege. At this point, you are already familiar with the distance in between the adjacent notes, or every note in the scale with the solfege system. And then fourth tip, practice a lot. So I will give myself a pitch, can be any pitch. Do, Do, Re, Mi, Fa. This is the first four notes on the scale. Sol, La, Ti, Do. The last four notes in the scale. Do, Ti, La, Sol. Last four notes descending. Fa, Mi, Re, Do. Alright, here is the most challenging part of the excerpt. This is what you can do. Do, Mi is a small leap. And we can fit Re into Do, Mi, right? In your mind, you can sing an imaginary Re to fill this gap. Do, Re, Mi. That's how you figure out Mi. Mi, Fa, Mi, Fa, So, So, La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi, Re, Do, Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. I will do it quickly. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So, La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi, Re, Do, Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Do. Alright, then you can connect these notes together. Do, Mi, So, Do, Mi, Do, So, Mi, Do. Now we are just given an excerpt. We will apply the scales that we talked about, the concepts that we talked about on this new excerpt. Key signature, we can assume that this is in the key of C major because it ends on a C. And then G is So, and so forth. Let's say if this is Do, you are given this reference pitch. Do, So, So, La, Ti, Do, Ti. This is a 6, so this is a large leap. It's very easy to get out of tune. So how do? You connect B to D. You connect T to Re. Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Re. Ti, Re, Mi, Fa, So, La, So. So you can connect these notes. So, La, Ti, Do, Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Re, Mi, Fa, So, La, So. Alright, just the notes. So, Do, Ti, Re, La, So. So, La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi, Re, Do, Ti, La, So. So, La, Ti, Do, Re, Do, Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Fa, So, La, Ti, Do, Re, Do, Ti, La, So, Fa, Mi, Re. So, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, sol, la, so. So, la, ti, do, re, mi, re, do, ti, do. So this is the thought process. These are not the things that we will be singing. We will be singing what is written on this page, right? Not the imaginary notes. But the imaginary notes help us to get the next note, to sing in tune. Now I will sing the entire thing without the imaginary notes. So, do, ti, re, la, so. So, mi, re, do, la, so. So, re, do, fa, so, mi. So, re, do, fa, mi, re. So, do, ti, re, la, so. So, mi, re, do, ti, do. Right, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you are interested in more music theory topics, I've created a list of music analysis playlist on my YouTube channel, and I hope you go check it out. Thank you so much for watching.